meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Good evening, I'm Molly Martinez. We begin tonight with a massive fire in Minot. The flames appear to have started in a small auto repair shop next to Roughneck Motors on Railway Avenue, just north of the state fairgrounds. Crews worked to keep the fire from spreading to nearby structures, rerouting traffic. The shop was a total loss, but luckily crews were able to contain it. Time now to take our first check on weather with meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey.
That's great news, Henry. Any day now, we'll know whether the Supreme Court plans on reevaluating a case that has plagued North Dakota for over 2 decades. I'm talking about Quill versus North Dakota. Today, I went and spoke to local lawmakers as well as business owners and found out that the 1992 decision is one we're still paying for.
It seems innocuous. In 1992, the Supreme Court ruled that if a catalog company didn't have a physical presence in North Dakota, well, they didn't owe sales tax.
How they knew that they were losing business to catalog sellers was people would come in with the catalog, look at the product, ask people about the pricing, and then walk out and order it.
No one shops with catalogs anymore, right? But we do shop online, turning that ruling into a different monster entirely.
If states were allowed to collect sales tax from online vendors, we could see as much as $45 million in a biennium, in a 24-month period, come to the state that isn't being collected now.
That's $45 million that could be spent on
police department, teachers, firemen, and everything like that, all the amenities that everybody wants.
Madonna Wald is a local business owner who has to compete with online retailers every day, and they have an advantage over her.
The variance between the price with tax and the price without tax was often that margin that really cost them the sale.
I don't think it's really fair to penalize a business that you're here every day, you're employing people, you're in the community, you're trying to make a better place for a better city.
This month, the Supreme Court will decide whether or not to retake the case. The fight to repeal is now a bipartisan issue.
We have to make sure that everybody's treated fairly, that our retailers are treated fairly, along with folks that sell on the internet.
The latest push, led in part by Senator Heidi Heitkamp, has the ability to make online retailers accountable for what's rightfully owed to the state.
We're learning the identity of a driver killed in a crash in Stanley yesterday. Police say 95-year-old Clifford Bakke lost control of his vehicle before another car slammed into him, sending him into a ditch. Police say he died on scene. A man accused of murdering his mother in 2013 was sentenced after changing his plea to guilty. Christopher Vick changed his plea 2 days after appearing at the Morton County Courthouse on December 27th. State's Attorney Julia Lawyer says he was sentenced to 30 years for his murder charge and to 5 years for a terrorizing charge. Vick has waived his rights to appeal. Well, some of the inmates at Williams County Correctional Center have been unable to receive visitors for weeks now because of a technology glitch. Administrators realized the new visitation room wasn't compatible with the old facility's equipment. It's now been 2.5 months since the video visitation has been operational. However, administrators say work is underway to install a fix soon.
Fabricated to put the new kiosks, basically the video visitation kiosks, onto the wall. All those items are fabricated, they are painted, they are ready to be installed.
Kavadi says they aren't sure when operations will be working properly. Well, there was a scare this morning at the aggregate industry cement plant in Carrington after a man was buried in a sand pit. Police say the man became trapped around 11 a.m. Carrington Fire Chief Ken Wangden says they dug him out and transported him to a local hospital to be checked out. Rescue workers were on scene for around 2.5 hours. Well, there was an odd confiscation at the border this week. Agents at Portal Point of Entry seized nearly $1 million worth of pirated stainless steel sinks, about 1,200 of them total. The sinks were labeled as coming from China and were shipped in rail cars. Agents determined that the goods were infringing on U.S. copyright laws and took them. Well, North Dakota is not expected to be impacted by the Department of Justice repeal of the marijuana enforcement rules. Attorney General Jeff Sessions issued a memo yesterday giving federal prosecutors discretion on how they use resources to enforce marijuana laws. Jason Wall with the Division of Medical Marijuana says they are monitoring the situation, but the repeal won't stop their work.
Really too early to tell if there's going to be a direct impact in regards to implementing the program, what that impact is, so it's still to be determined. In the meantime, the division will continue on working on implementing a well-regulated program.
Walt says the division is still on schedule to submit rules regulating the program on February 1st. Well, 60 National Guard soldiers who arrived home in November are being celebrated tonight. Members of the 136th Combat Sustainment Support Battalion served in Afghanistan for 10 months last year. Today, they're being formally welcomed back and praised for their service.
It absolutely meant the world to know that we weren't forgotten about and that the people back home were proud of us and that they kept us in their prayers. It really made the job easier over there, and it made it a lot more memorable to know that we weren't forgotten about.
State Representative Kevin Kramer was also on hand to welcome the soldiers in tonight's ceremony. Well, more than 2,000 kids in North Dakota have medical coverage through the Children's Health Insurance Program. But now funding for that program is becoming an issue. Andrew Horn shows us the state's options going forward.
Where we stand, we can make the standalone premiums through April of 2018.
Time and options are running out for kids covered through CHIP.
We're still hopeful and optimistic that Congress will extend the program and fund the program so we won't have to begin notifications to families.
Congress could pass another funding resolution, either temporary or long-term, to continue the program. Maggie Anderson with the Department of Human Services says that if the federal government doesn't come through, the state could use $12 million of general funds for CHIP.
We could take this group of other kids that use CHIP money and fund them back with Medicaid money back to October. That would free up CHIP funding. However, it would cost additional state general funds that are not part of the department's current appropriation.
Anderson says this would need approval from the governor's office. For West Dakota Fox, I'm Andrew Horn.
The previous resolution was part of a package that avoided a government shutdown. The federal government would have to pass another package before January 19th, but CHIP funding may not be a part of it. Well, when temperatures drop below zero, it presents a problem for elementary schools. How cold is too cold for outdoor recess? Cynthia McLaughlin found out. Well, Butterhorn on Main in Bismarck is a new restaurant that's offering Midwest cuisine to the Bisman area. Butterhorn makes everything from scratch daily, including their signature Butterhorn rolls.
Butterhorns are kind of the theme of the restaurant. It's kind of what brought it to life. They're basically pastries shaped like a croissant or something like that that my grandmas teach me how to make.
For more information, search Butterhorn 210 on Facebook. Well, the oil boom brought thousands of people to the state, but now that the boom has gone away, Bismarck is looking to change its growth plan for the future. Daniela Hurtado shows us a look at that plan. Welcome back. Matt Lauer might not be on the Today Show duty after his firing over alleged sexual misconduct, but he's still getting up early. The New York Post, page 6, is reporting that Lauer has been shooting off notes to producers of the Today Show, giving unsolicited feedback on various episodes. That includes sending a producer an email saying that they had chosen the wrong music to kick off a segment. The report says Lauer's feedback has not been welcomed by the show's staffers. Well, a new book on the Trump presidency is making waves in Washington today. It's called Fire and Fury, and it's flying off bookshelves across the state. Managers say copies at the Barnes & Noble in Bismarck were sold out in less than 30 minutes.
We've even had some customers that have been buying new Nook devices just so they can download the book.
Packays says they're not sure when they'll get the next batch shipped to them, but if you're interested, you can pre-order at the store. Meantime, Fire and Fury hasn't reached the bookshelves in Williston, but there's already a high demand for it. Books on Broadway has already ordered at least 12 copies of the book that distributors will bring in sometime next week. All morning, calls have been coming in for people putting in their reserve, but the owners say they're worried that they may not have enough.
When you get a book like this, people, depending on the media attention that it's garnering up, people will want it.
Judging from early reaction, Wilder is expecting quite a bit of traffic in his store. Henry, I'm seeing double digits, and this is really a sight for sore eyes.
It really is, especially with what we've been going through over the past few weeks.
Well, everyone is trying to stay warm this unusually bitter winter, and that includes animals. Dozens of manatees were spotted crowding together for warmth in the waters of Sarasota. Brought a lot of onlookers. The manatees are not the only sea life affected by the colder water. About 100 sea turtles stunned by the cold have been rescued. I don't know, Henry. I wish I had some manatees to snuggle up with.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a bit on the milder side for tomorrow. However,